sea. I mean, once they get to the open sea, they're safe because they're smaller, agile, and have the advantage in open sea. But leopard seals, like actual leopards, are ambush predators, and of course they've actually been seen hanging around penguin colonies. I mean, mainly king or emperor penguins, but also gentoo penguins, and they've taken as many as 8 penguins a day. I mean, and like with the polar bear, what they're really the main part of the penguins they're after is blubber. It's the thick layer of fat underneath the surface of their skin that keeps them insulated. But that's also their downfall, as that's the calories the leopard seal's looking for. And leopard seals are solitary for much of their lives, with the exceptions of mothers and pups. And they are some of the most frightening animals I have ever studied. But of course they can be quite dangerous, but they aren't very dangerous to people unless they either are very hungry or if they feel like they're being threatened. I mean, you can dive with leopard seals, but you've always got to have 2 or 3 people with you to make sure they can know the personality of the leopard seal, because every leopard seal has its own different personality and behaves in a very different way. And as long as you go in you don't go in afraid, and you treat them with the same respect you would any other animal, and also just don't act like a prey animal, then they're unlikely to attack you. I mean, they'll more than likely just be pirouetting and barrel rolling around you, but occasionally they will flash their jaws at you, but it's not because they want to eat you, it's because they're just showing off what they can do, just saying, I'm big, I'm dangerous, don't mess with me. But yeah, penguins in Antarctica really don't stand a chance against leopard seals. I mean, they're bigger, they're more muscular than them, and of course, they are their main predator, but sometimes leopard seal can become the hunted. I mean, they have occasionally been known to fall prey to orca or killer whales, but I'll get to that a bit later. Here is their range in Antarctica. They do have quite a range. Now, the next animal I'm going to show you is one of my favourite birds, and also the largest of the falcon family, is this, the Gyrfalcon. Now, the Gyrfalcon is the largest of the falcon family. It's found in the northern hemisphere, I mean, mainly around the Arctic of Europe, Russia, and North America, and of course they are, to me, one of the most beautiful birds in the world, and they are, when I say they're the largest of the falcon family, I mean they can weigh over 2 kilograms, have a wingspan that's, I think, just over 1 metre long, so a lot bigger and heavier than peregrines. But their method of hunting, unlike peregrine, which dives after its prey, is very different. I mean, they will dive after prey, but quite often they prefer a more flat-out chase, where they just fly out right after their prey to flush it out, and then they chase after it, and then boom! And of course, a prey for the Gyrfalcon, I mean, it mainly feeds on things like waterfowl, like ducks and geese, but also seabirds like gulls, terns, razorbills, auks, and guillemots. But it also can take ptarmigan, which are a type of grouse, and other birds like that that live in the Arctic Circle, but also they have been known to take home mammals as big as Arctic hares, which in themselves are very fast, very agile, and quite difficult to catch. Of course, one thing that has always amazed me about the Gyrfalcon is that during the medieval era, when falconry was the big status hunting sport, in fact, the Gyrfalcon was one of only two birds, along with the golden eagle, that was allowed that no one else but the king could fly, because the Gyrfalcon was seen as like a very big status symbol. And of course, like their peregrine cousins, Gyrfalcons nest on cliffs, like in mountainous or coastal parts of the Arctic, and they usually have like 3 to 4 chicks, and quite often it's the female who stays at the nest to provide them with food while the male hunts. But they do take it in turns to go. So one goes off hunting, the other stays to feed the chicks, and of course, as I did mention earlier, to me they are one of the most beautiful birds in the world. But if you were a duck, like a teal, or maybe a ptarmigan, these would be your living nightmare. Of course, this is their range. As you can see, they're found throughout much of the Arctic Circle. I mean, they do occasionally come to Britain, like they do occasionally come here to Scotland, but I mean, they're not resident birds. I mean, they do occasionally visit, but it's very, very rare. Now, the next animal I'm going to show you is probably the ocean's top predator and probably my favourite marine animal, orca, or killer whales. And of course, these are like 4 different pods of killer whales, but I'll get to those in a minute. And orca are commonly known as killer whales because they are the largest of the dolphin family, and a fully grown male can grow to be well over 8 meters long and weigh possibly more than 6 tons in weight, and they have teeth that are probably about the size of my hand, and they're called killer whales, not because of their whales, but because they actually do hunt and kill whales. That's in the 1860s, a whaling captain witnessed a pod of killer whales taking down a whale, and of course that's how they got the name killer whales. But of course in Antarctica there are more killer whales there than anywhere else on the planet, and in fact there are 4 types. I mean, the first ones, Antarctic type A's, I mean, they specialise in hunting seals, like leopard seals, but also crab and Weddell seals, and how they do it is very, very ingenious. And what they do is, because quite often seals are lying out on icebergs out of the water, so they can't get them out of the water. So what they do is, in perfect synchrony, they swim right under the iceberg and cause a bow wave, and that can either break the ice apart or wash the seal off the iceberg. And then, once it's in the water, the killers have to be able to grab it by the tail while avoiding its biting jaws. Because although the seal is smaller than the killer whales, it's still probably capable of giving them a fatal injury with one bite. And once they've actually got a hold of the seal, they just have to pull it down and drown it, and then they can feed on, and the whole pod can feed. Antarctic type B's are a lot larger in body size, and they specialise in hunting whales specifically Antarctic minke whales that come to Antarctica to feed on krill and small fish. And how they do it is a bit like African hunting dogs or wolves. Because orca are also called wolves of the sea because they hunt in packs, and also because they can take on prey bigger than themselves. And how the Antarctic type bees hunt whales is they use endurance to chase after it. I mean, the minke whale that they usually hunt has speed and endurance, which is its main defence. But of course, what they do is when they chase after a minke whale is they have outriders on each side, also known as flankers, to block off its escape routes, and quite often they take it in turns to wear their prey down. And then, and I know a lot of you probably thinking that this might be cruel, but what they have to do next is they all join forces to drown the whale, and then they can feed. And I know that to some people that might seem a little bit cruel, but what you've also got to know is that the orca have calves of their own that they have to feed, and also they have to teach their calves the same methods of hunting that will enable them to become the ocean's top predator. And Antarctic type seas are a little bit smaller than the other whales, and that's down to because they are designed for hunting penguins. I mean, mainly king and genty penguins. And of course, how they do it is if once they have penguins out in the open sea, they have to. I mean, usually have two of them on either side of the penguin, and they all take it in turns to chase after it and just slowly try to wear it down. And of course, that can be quite hard because if it's like a genty penguin, and genties are the fastest penguins in the sea, and they can swim at 20 miles an hour, but penguins are also smaller and more agile, so unless the orca work together, then they have no chance of catching one. But when they work together, they are quite successful in hunting for their prey. Antarctic type Ds are, well, they don't specialise in hunting mammals, they specialise in feeding on fish like sardines, herring, mackerel and tuna. And another thing that's always intrigued me about orca is their family social groups. I mean, in many dolphins, it's all just females when males tend to leave when they get mature. But in killer whales, that is completely different. The males will stay with the pod for the rest of their lives, and all the calves come from just one line, and that's the line of the mother, who is usually the matriarch, who is the one that leads the pod, and they can be possibly more than 30 years old. But also, killer whales have probably the largest dorsal fin of any animal. A male killer whale can have a dorsal fin that can be as long as I am tall. So they are amazing animals, and also very, very intelligent. In fact, one of the main reasons why there's so many killer whales in Antarctica is because each of them have specialised in hunting just one particular prey species, so they don't compete for food and they can coexist and basically live in peace. This is a chart of the killer whales of the Antarctic waters, just It's how you tell them apart. I mean, you mostly can tell them apart by the dorsal fins.